love like this. There it is. I've never found a love like this.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to E20 Zone TV. It is Friday, and it is game day weekend, and it's one of the games that I personally fucking hate. That's one thing I will say about this game. I do hate playing Tottenham because if we win, it is the most amazing feeling going. If we lose, we don't hear about it from forever. So, yeah, let's get into it. To my right is Tommy. You know who he is. Tommy, how are you doing? And how are you looking forward to this game on Sunday?
Yeah, doing well, thanks. Yeah, I always look forward to this one. It's one of the fixtures, when the fixture list comes out start of the season, it's one of the ones you look for is that when are we playing Tottenham? Obviously, there's no love lost, and as you say, we absolutely love beating them and turning them over. Because, like you say, the bragging rights on Twitter are important for that one. So yeah, very important to us not to lose that game.
I'll tell you what, it's one game. I think Scott Fenn, who's in the chat, just summed it up brilliantly. It's the game Mr. Fever hates to lose the most. I really do hate losing this game. It's one game I could take losing to any other team other than Spurs. That's one team I just get this sort of them and Millwall, the two teams, but obviously Millwall are like, it's very few and far between with Millwall, but this is the one game that I go, I don't want to lose this game at all. I'd settle for a 0-0 draw right now, move on, done. Do you know what I'm saying? But yeah, we're going to get into it and talk about it and also get some opinions from the chat. But let's start off with this, as we always do on here. This is a little question for you, Tommy. The perfect game for West Ham. Is this the perfect game for West Ham on Sunday to get our teeth into and see if we've made an impression?
Yeah, I think it'll definitely be a game that we can take a lot from. Again, see, the thing is, when you look at it on paper, these kind of 3 games in a row that we've had, this being the third one. So talking about Newcastle away, Chelsea home, Tottenham away. On paper, normally you'd grimace a bit and say, "Fucking hell, that's a really tough run of fixtures." But I think all 3 of those fixtures are coming at a really good time for us. Newcastle were in a little bit of a slump when we played them. They were struggling for goals. They were drawing a lot of games. And we were able to go up there and get a point. Same with Chelsea. Spent a lot of money on paper, some really good players, but completely disjointed. Haven't hit the ground yet. They're struggling. They were down in 9th. That was a game that was winnable as well. We managed to take a point from it. And I feel like this is the same. Tottenham are in a really difficult moment right now. They're not playing very well. They've got real injury problems. They got spanked by Leicester, having been 1-0 up last week. Lost again, to AC Milan a couple of days ago, and so they're not in a good place whatsoever. Fans aren't happy. We have an opportunity again to potentially go and win that game, but certainly there's a good chance we could again take a point from it. So yeah, I think there's definitely an opportunity to actually go there and turn them over. Hopefully we'll take it. We haven't taken that opportunity against Newcastle or Chelsea, but if you're going to say to me which one of those 3, if you're given, say, 5 points in those 3 games, I think we would all say we want to get the 3 points away to Tottenham. Because I think we can get that crowd turned really quick. They'll have been really unhappy with that Leicester result. They'll have been unhappy with the Milan result. Both of those were away from home. If they find themselves in a London derby against us, and let's be honest, they hate us as much as we hate them, they find themselves playing shit and 1-0 down, that crowd is going to turn very quickly. It's going to turn nasty in there. And that will not help the Tottenham players at all. It'll make them nervy. So I think this is a real opportunity. If we can do something we haven't really been doing all season and actually get hold of that game early, and get on top, and especially if we can go 1-0 up, then I think it's really on from there. I think if we go 1-0 up we could very well win that game. That crowd will turn very quickly. But of course, you can't rely on us to do that. We tend to do the opposite and start very slowly and go 1-0 down, which obviously would be a completely different ball game.
For me, this is the perfect game for West Ham. This will show me if West Ham have turned the corner or not, because Spurs are not in a good moment at the minute. In a space of a week or 2 weeks, to be technical, they go from beating Manchester City to getting absolutely hammered against Leicester, losing it against Milan, and I think it's the perfect time to play them. Their confidence is not on it at the minute, and I don't think Antonio Conte is going to be in the dugout either. I think he's going to be away, so they're going to be lacking. I had Gav on yesterday for the opposition preview, and he turned around and said they've got no Eric Dyer. He's out, suspended, so that's a plus. So they're going to go with a makeshift back three of sort of Tanganga, Romero, and there's someone else in there who I can't remember. But for me, West Ham needs to be
in midfield as well.
Yeah, and then we need to be proactive in this game. This is a game where I expect West Ham to set up strong and have a go at the Spurs. If we set up in a way that we're just going to sit there and defend like we always do, then I'm worried, because if they do score early, then it could be an hammering. Do you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to see us get hammered against them. It's one game I just don't want to see it.
Actually, I think one good thing for us, obviously, look, Moyes will look to set up the way he always does.
Yeah.
Sit back, keep it tight. But the way Tottenham play and the way they set up, I think they will actually let us have the ball. I think we'll have more possession in this game than we normally do, because I think Tottenham will actually allow us to have possession. They don't mind not having the ball. They'll want to hit us on the counter attack. So I think we'll have plenty of possession. I also think if Moyes gets it right, we can absolutely dominate the midfield battle. I
agree.
I think Tottenham are very, very vulnerable in midfield right now. They're really weak in the midfield. Bentancur is out. Kulusevski is out. Højbjerg's form is really poor at the moment. So we really should be able to get a grip on midfield in this game. And if we can do that and have lots of possession, which I believe we will, I think the possession will be very tight, actually, on Sunday. Maybe 55-45, one way or the other, something like that. Then it will come down to, can we hurt them when we've got the ball? And that's the challenge that David Moyes is going to have. So I think we're going to have plenty of the ball and plenty of territory, despite the way Moyes sets up. I think Tottenham will just give us that anyway. And plus we'll dominate midfield, I believe, or at least we should, given how they are in that sector of the field. So if we can do that, it will come down to, can we hurt them when we do have the ball? And I think that could be the kind of winning of the game or not.
I agree. Before I move on, I just want to see West Ham have a go against these. Do you know what I mean? If we go down fighting, I can accept that as a West Ham fan. I take that, move on. Right? What I can't accept is if we just sit there and wait to get beat. Do you know what I'm saying? I think the last two games have been good defensive displays, but poor attacking displays from us. I want to see an all-round performance, and this is the perfect game for it. I look at Spurs, I think, you know what? They're not in good form, and they're there to be got at. Do you know what I'm saying? So we will see what happens with that. Let's talk about this. Paqueta's out, but Aguerd and Scamacca return. It's come out that Paqueta is definitely out. He's not going to play any parts in Sunday.
Yeah.
But Aguerd is likely to make it, and Scamacca's back in training and is likely to be on the bench. How much do we need Scamacca on the pitch on Sunday to get us a positive result? Because I think with Antonio, he's okay, but he's not a goal threat anymore. That's the one thing I will say. What are you saying, Sammy?
I'd love to see Scamacca on the pitch, and I do think we need him on there, but not as a lone striker. I mean, if we're going to play any of our forwards, if you say we've got three strikers, Antonio, Scamacca and Ings, I think it's pointless having any of those three up front as a lone striker. We've been doing it all season. It hasn't worked. It's not going to start working now. So, I would love to see two up top. I know Moyes doesn't do that. So to me, it almost is at the point where it's almost immaterial who's up there. I mean, if they're not going to get any service, it doesn't really matter. We had one shot on target against Newcastle, one shot on target, I believe it was against Chelsea, and we managed to nick 1-1s. On both occasions we got them on target. Those on target shots went in.
Yeah.
We won't keep getting away with that. We just won't. So I think we need to go 2 up top. But Scamacca, I think, gives you whatever chance you do have of scoring a goal with 1 up top. I think Scamacca and Ings give you a much better chance of that than Antonio. Antonio is just not finisher. If a chance falls, I mean, a really decent chance falls. Antonio is third on the list of those strikers that you want that chance falling to. He's behind Bowen. You'd rather it fall to Bowen than Antonio.
I agree on that. Yeah,
he's not a finisher. So yeah, it would be nice to have Scamacca in there. But I think Moyes has already said he's not going to start him. I would start him. He's been in training. We know you're not going to get 90 minutes, but it could be enough, given what we've got now. If you get an hour out of Scamacca, to me that would be enough. If he can play for an hour. Let him play for an hour. It's great for his match fitness too. After the hour, then you can make a change. You're going to have Antonio there if you want to go with Antonio. If you want to go with Ings, they're both sitting there itching to get on, ready to go. You've got options. So I would start Scamacca even if he just has an hour in him. But you know what Moyes is like. He's very cagey with these things. So he won't start. He'll be on the bench. He will come off the bench. But under what circumstances? It's probably only going to be for 10, 15 max, but maybe 10 minutes, so what situation are we going to be in at the time? Hopefully we're in a lead. It's good to have him back fit though. We need him back.
I agree, mate. I agree. For me, I agree with you 100% what you just said there. Before we move on to sort of Aguerd, because I think Aguerd's massive to West Ham. And I've seen people today saying, I wouldn't risk him in this game. And I'm like, fuck that. We need to get some points. There's no two ways about it. We need to get points. We can't keep waiting for players to come back because, you know what I'm saying? It can happen anytime. But talking about Scamacca, I 100% agree. Give him an hour, let him loose, right? If he's back in training, let him go. I think Antonio's better as a sub coming on for the last 20 minutes or 15 minutes when you've got tired defences and you've got Antonio running at you. Or as simple as that. Or start with Ings and Scamacca as a 2. Do you know what I'm saying? Something's got to give, though. I will say that because Danny Ings needs to get on the pitch more. Do you know what I mean? I'm not seeing enough of him yet. Do you know what I'm saying? And as fans, we can't even judge Danny Ings because we haven't really seen enough of him, if I'm being truthfully honest. So how can we judge him? So, yeah, it'd be good to see Scamacca back and preferably on the pitch and not on the bench. I'm going to move over to Aguerd now. Now, I had this debate on Twitter earlier on with a few lads. Now, these lads are very polarising, they're very opinionated on Twitter, but I know them, yeah? And they turned around and said to me, James, he's not worth risking against Spurs. And my response was, if it was anyone other than Spurs, I would agree. But this is Spurs, and we don't want to lose against Spurs. So I think this is such a big game. It's a big game all round because this goes one or two ways for West Ham, in my opinion. Before I hand it over to you, if we win the game, our confidence levels go through the roof. Right, West Ham are back. Yeah. West Ham have turned the corner, and everything seems a lot more better in the claret and blue. If we lose this game or we get hammered in this game, then it goes the complete opposite direction. That there is major problems and there is a cause to be concerned. What are you saying on Aguerd for Sunday, mate?
Yeah, he has to start. Moyes has essentially said, that he's available for selection. So obviously there's no match fitness issue because he hasn't been out. He played last week. So I'm not surprised though. I felt like he would be back very quickly.
Yeah.
I wasn't obviously sure about this game, but from what I saw after he went off last week, it looked to me like it was purely precautionary. Like he just felt a little twinge, in the groin. And so they just said, look, let's play it safe and get him off. So he doesn't actually pull the bloody thing. And, he stayed on the bench. He was on the pitch after the game. He was walking around. He'd have a limp. He didn't look like he was struggling in any way. And obviously, they will have been testing it all week, to see if he has any reaction to it when he runs, if he has any reaction to it when he turns, when he pushes off on that leg, if he has any reaction to it when he kicks the ball. And clearly he has had no reaction. Otherwise he wouldn't be available for the matchday squad. So it seems to me like Aguerd is good to go, that he hasn't actually injured it. So thankfully. So yeah, I mean, but like you, I mean, even if there's some doubt about whether it will hold up to the game, we have to play him. We have to try and get a win from somewhere. It's all right saying, respect the point, but at some point we're going to have to start winning games. We can't. I think we're past the point now where we can pick and choose which games we think we can go and win, because there's no guarantee. Because there's no guarantee you go and win them games. Everyone,
I agree on that comment there. I just want to say something.
I put out on Twitter our next 5 games, right? And I was like, okay, how many points do you think we're going to get? And most people in the replies were assuming 3 points at home to Forest, and we're assuming 3 points at home to Villa. And I'm thinking, don't be so fucking quick. Don't assume that we get wins in both of those games. We might not. Neither of those teams are mugs. We could lose one of them and draw one. You don't know. We could draw both. We have to start winning games, and we can't start picking and choosing which games we're going to go and try and win. Moyes can't do that anymore. We're not in that position anymore. We're desperate now. The points are basically just keeping our head above water. But points won't keep you above water. They just won't. If we keep even drawing games, we'll fall back into the relegation zone. So these are the kind of games where we have an opportunity. I felt there was an opportunity away at Newcastle. There was an opportunity at home to Chelsea that we could nick a win. We haven't done it. We have that opportunity again this Sunday, and we have got to go and try to take that opportunity. And I mean, just, mentally, with Moyes and with the players, they've got to be thinking not, point here would be a really good point. Stop thinking like that. We've got to start going out into every game now thinking we need to go and try and win this game and be positive and get after it.
I agree with you. I really do. Yeah, I've got to get to this comment though. All right. I wish we were in a position to rest Naif, but we're not. Man has to play. Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally 100% agree. When people keep saying about resting him, we ain't got time to rest these players. We need these players fit and firing and right now. I agree with this comment. It's about how much fight we have from now on. I agree on that comment totally. Right, the boys. Yeah. There is no hype needed for Sunday. None.
No, I don't doubt the players' attitude. I really don't. I think the attitude has been. Because remember, when we were really in the doldrums, James. Remember, before we beat Everton, the question was being asked: has Moyes lost the dressing room? Have the players given up? And I said all along, no, I do not believe he's lost the dressing room. The players look to me like they're trying, like they're putting in the effort. They're trying to win games, and just the setup is all wrong. And there may be a little bit of a confidence issue there as well, which is natural. But so I've never doubted the players' fight, and we've seen that. We saw that up at Newcastle. We saw it at home to Chelsea. The players are putting in the effort. I think now Moyes has got to do his bit. And he's got to actually give them a better footing to actually win games instead of trying to not lose them. I think there has to be a shift in attitude of we have to start getting after teams now more and trusting these players that they can be a bit more attack-minded. We can get more bodies up the field, and that it doesn't mean we're going to concede 3 or 4 goals. You have to trust the players to be able to defend properly. We've got good players on the pitch. Safal is playing well. Emerson really is playing well. Aguerd playing well. Oggy's playing well. Kerrer and Johnson have done well when they've been asked to play in centre backs. There's no one really kind of letting the side down, as it were. Our only problems that we have to solve are, again, slow starts and going behind. We've got to stop doing that. And our ability to create chances, and score some more goals. And really, I think a lot of that would be an attitude change in the way Moyes sets up the team tactically. Because Tottenham are there to be got at. They really are. There are goals in it for us against Tottenham.
I really do agree with what you're saying, right? That's why I just let you sort of unload on that, right? But the way I look at it is this. This game's a free hit for West Ham, really. Yeah, they are there for the taking. I don't like this 3-4-3 or 5-3-2 or whatever way you want to sum it up. I have this argument every time. I've spoke to different people about it. Some people are like me that we just don't attack, right? We're not fluent in attack. Yeah, we get the ball. Well, granted, we get the ball, we pass it around, we look like we're going to do something, but we're not good in attack. Yeah. I asked Gav yesterday, who's obviously a Spurs fan. Antonio Conte plays that system religiously. And I said, tell me the truth, Gav. Do you like Tottenham in that system? He said, it's the worst system going. You've got to have the right players for that system. Yeah. I look at West Ham and I just think we're grinding out points. We're not grinding out wins. If we was grinding out wins, I could go, you know what, it's working. But we're grinding out points, and we're not just grinding out points, but we're just not looking good on the in attack, right? And listen, I see someone say it earlier. I think it was Steve said about Ben Rama being dropped. I'm all for that. Yeah, bring Ben Rama on, Antonio on, or Ben Rama and Scamacca on 20 minutes to go. But don't criticise the men for coming off the bench to try and save the game for us when we're not attacking in the first 60, 70 minutes. Do you get what I'm saying? It has to be, we have to be a bit more proactive. I've always said this. I like West Ham in a 4-3-3. I've never seen us in a 4-3-3, but I think we would be slick in a 4-3-3. But it's just, we're trying to play a system where we're just trying to grind the game out. And sometimes I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, eventually we're going to get found out. We really are. Like, teams are just going to like sit off us and go, you know what? They ain't going to score a goal, and all we've got to do is score one or two. If we can score 2 goals, right, we're winning the game. Do you know what I'm saying? How do you sort of sum it up in regards of this, Tommy, which I'm about to present to you? And that is, how do West Ham approach this game? Like, from a mindset of Moyes, does Moyes go there and set up in a way to sort of play like he's played against Manchester United, Liverpool away, Arsenal away, compact, contained, then try and win it in the last 20 minutes?
No, absolutely not. That's completely the wrong thing to do.
Right.
And it's not that we couldn't get a point that way. We might. But like I say, we're beyond the point now of this season of just settling for solid points. Tottenham are a wounded animal. They really are. I mean, we have a great opportunity to go there and turn them over. I mean, they're in a really bad place. Their confidence is low. They've got serious injuries to key players who are out and won't be available. Their midfield is compromised. Defensively, they're compromised, particularly in the centre. And Son has been really poor under Conte. Now, I think Son is a cracking player, but under Conte, it just is not working for him. And they have so many issues. Their form is really poor. And this is a game that we have to try and go and win. You know, I don't want to hear. I don't want to hear afterwards. You know, if we've been tight and compact and kept it close, and we come out of there with a 0-0 or another, 1-1, and hear Moyes talking about, it's a good point. It's a good point. Tottenham are a wounded animal. They really are, and we have to go there with the mindset of going up there and beating them, winning up in N17. I think they're genuinely there for the taking if our attitude is spot on and Moyes gets it tactically right. And I mean, like, mindset-wise, I'd be saying to the players, like, we're going to get after Tottenham. They will let us have the ball. And we're going to make sure that we make use of the ball when we've got it, because we can hurt them. So, because they're weak in midfield and defence, we can really hurt them and punish them. It won't happen, because Moyes will do what Moyes always does. Moyes right now, if you offer them a point, 100% takes it.
But is the point a good point if we beat Forest?
Yes, I think. It's a tough one. You know what? No, I think, because I think, looking at the table, I think we need to be trying to win both. I really do. I think we need to be winning both, because if you look at the table now and the teams that are down there, you're really only talking about Southampton, Bournemouth, Everton, ourselves, and Leeds. After
Yeah,
that, the teams after that are starting to like pull away a little bit. The likes of Forest, Wolves, Leicester, they're picking up wins.
If Wolves
And
win at the weekend,
they're
they're 6
starting
points clear.
Yeah, we're in real danger of a gap starting to appear from them teams above us. And then now I think Southampton and Bournemouth will be relegated.
Yeah.
And then let's say they are, right? And then you're talking about one more team. The way things are looking right now, you would have to say that third team is going to be ourselves, Everton or Leeds.
I agree.
Would be what you'd be looking at. So we one of only 3 teams right now. Now the likes of Forest, Leicester could get dragged back into it, but at the moment the danger is that they'll keep pulling away. I do not believe for a second Wolves are getting relegated. I don't believe Leicester are going to get relegated. No. And to be completely honest, I think Sean Dyche will keep Everton up. I do. I think he'll keep them up. So we've got to make sure that we kind of send maybe Leeds or Forest or someone down with Southampton and Bournemouth. And I'm only assuming that's going to happen. If Bournemouth go on a little run, then you're thinking, fucking hell, that's another team that now we have to really worry about. Southampton could get a new manager in and they might get a bounce, pick up some points, and all of a sudden Southampton are like level with us or above us or whatever in the table. You're thinking, shit, we're banging. That can happen very quickly. So we've got to stop with this mentality of well, if we can pick a point up here and then win that one, because we might not fucking win. Because
it would have been better off. It would be better off. Like the last 2 games getting a draw, we would have been better off winning one and losing one. It's just
there's more points. Yeah, so we have to stop this respect the point mentality because it will not keep us up, and we can't, because that mentality absolutely banks on us beating Forest, beating Villa, beating Southampton. We might not.
Yeah, if we don't, I actually just to sort of come in, I actually believe that the next 2 games really will define it for me, big time. I've had arguments with West Ham online. I've had arguments with Mitch about basically turning around and saying about the lads think that we're slowly getting back to how we was. I've not seen it yet. I really have not. And the next 2 games will decide it for me. If we go to Spurs on Sunday and we put in a good performance and we get a positive result, I'll be like, okay. The Forest game is probably the biggest game of the season for West Ham. But it's the biggest game. And I still see people thinking we can go and win the Conference League. I get that. But I want to stay in the Premier League at the minute. Like, the Premier League is the main thing that we need to stay in. And if we don't sort ourselves out, we need to bag a win from somewhere. Right? That's what we need. Like, the ideally would be a nice 1-0 win at Spurs, right? And just get up the league and everything looks a lot better. But we've got to do it. Like we've got to win games. Like I see what Eamon's saying there. If we stay up by a single point, will you still be saying don't respect the point? The problem is if we go down by a single point, Eamon, would you say that also? Like there's 2 sides of that coin. Like I look at it at the minute and I go, West Ham have to start winning games because if we go point by point ratio, we're going down. It's as simple as that.
Do you really want to spend the rest of the season, Eamon, being where we are now, surviving by a point, being like
I can't go for that.
Shitting our pants in the running,
I've been worried
because we're respecting the point. We're better than that. We shouldn't be anywhere near here. It's ridiculous.
Before I get to your predictions, right? I'll tell you what. We'll go predictions and then we'll discuss it after, right? Because I'll be interested to see what you think. Right. So let's go predictions. I'm actually going to go first, and I'm going to leave Tommy till last on this one. For me, I look at West Ham. I look at this game, and I think we are defensively strong enough to get something out the game. The fear is if we concede early. I don't think we can get away with it 3rd time in a row. Newcastle, we went 1-0 down, we pulled it back. Chelsea, we went 1-0 down, we pulled it back. If we go 1-0 down against Spurs and get all their fans up for it, I fear that we could get hammered. That's the one fear I do have in this game, because when they get going and they have all their fans on us, they're going to be up for it in this game because they ain't going to want to lose to us. That's the only fear I have of us getting hammered. I think we can get something out of this game. Yeah, I'm going for the third draw in a row. I said a few weeks ago, I said if West Ham draw all three of the next game, Newcastle, Chelsea and Tottenham, I can accept that as long as we beat Forest. So far, we've drew 2 out of the 3. So I'm going to go with a draw. I don't know what it would be. It could either be a nice scoring game or it could be a 1 or a 0-0. Like, I just really don't know. But I am going to go for the draw in this game. I think West Ham, if Aguerd starts, I think the draw's there. If we can nick this game 1-0, I'll be over the moon. Like, forget about the rivalry. I'm more about the points. Yeah. So I'm going to go with a 1-1 draw third time in a row. Tommy, what you saying?
Yeah, I think there's a win there and 3 points for the taking, but unfortunately Moyes doesn't think that way.
Yeah.
So he won't go out there being more positive, more attack minded, and go for it. But equally, I think Tottenham are really poor, and I think he will play 3 centre backs, wing backs, Souček and Rice in front. So we'll be very compact. We'll frustrate Tottenham.
Yeah.
I think we've got a great chance of keeping a clean sheet in this game. Because of that, I think they'll struggle to create chances and break us down. But equally, because of the way we've been playing, I have to assume that we'll create very, very little ourselves. So judging by the way Moyes will set up and his outlook on these kind of things, and he's the ultimate respect the point manager, I actually think this will be a 0-0. I think this will be a horrible game. We're really poor. We're horrible to watch. Tottenham are horrible to watch. They'll build it up as this big London derby on Sky Sports or whatever, and I think this will be, really poor game actually. Two teams that are just
cancel
really
each other out.
Who just cancel each other out and are just not easy on the eye whatsoever. I think this will be just a bore fest 0-0 if I'm honest.
Fair enough, Tommy. I sort of agree, but then I sort of think that there will be goals in this game. I will say that. I will be back in the draw on Sunday. I'll be very shocked. I said it last 2 weeks, before I get to people's questions, because I do want to get to a few people's comments in the chat. I said for the last few weeks that when I look at us, we are not very good in attack, but defensively we're all right. So it's always going to be 1 goal in it. Like, I don't see West Ham scoring 2 goals, but then I don't see West Ham conceding 2 goals at the minute. So, yeah, it's just one of them ones, really. Let's get to a comment from Peter here, yeah? Our only away league win was Villa, and we all know how long ago that was. I can tell you about that game against Aston Villa. Yeah. I covered it on this channel. The lads watched it. Mitchell was there. We fluked the 1-0 win, like literally through Pablo Fornals' deflected shot, and we was awful in that game. Absolutely awful. So I don't remember that. Right, let's have a look. Let's get your comments. Let's have a look. Won't struggle to get a chance if Carey is in the middle of the defence. I can see Kane having him on toast. Possibly. I
don't think he will be. I think he'll be right-sided centre back.
Possibly, yeah. Spot on, James. But at the end of February, we will know if we are staying up or not to 2 huge games. That is one of the comments that I wanted to come to. The next 2 games for you, Tommy, does that define it for you, where we're at? Because at the minute, I think a lot of fans are thinking, don't worry, we're going to get out of this. Look at the players we've got. If the next 2 games don't go the ways that we really want, so let's just say, for argument's sake, we get a draw against Spurs and a win against Forest, is that right? Does that prove that we are in a battle to stay in this league now?
Yeah, I mean, look, the odd win would be helpful, obviously, be useful. So if we were to get a point on Sunday and 3 points against Forest, that would be useful, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think in 2 games' time, if we've got another 4 points, I think we'll still be more or less in the same situation. I mean, Again, I think it would be us keeping our heads above water. We'll be doing enough to keep ourselves out of the relegation zone. Obviously, look, a lot will depend on what's going on with the teams around us and what their results are. So it's hard to predict how much or how little 4 points might do for us. But obviously, look, we need wins, but I think we need more than just the odd win here and there. I think if we were to genuinely move ourselves up the table and start to look a little bit more comfortable, then we're going to have to, at some point, string a couple of wins together. So, I think if we were to beat Tottenham and then beat Forest, I think that would be hugely helpful. Hugely. That would genuinely really increase our chances of staying up. Now, obviously, again, how much so will depend on other results. We don't know what's going to happen. If the teams around us are losing and we get 6 points, obviously that's a huge help. But, if we get 6 points, but teams around us are picking up, 4 points or 6 points as well, or even 3 points, we're still precarious. But at the moment, we need to win some games just to make sure we don't drop back into the relegation zone. Because, as I said, some of those teams above us, like Leicester and Wolves and Forest, are in danger of actually pulling away. I think we need to win a couple of games just to make sure that maybe they get dragged back in. But like I say, it's hard to say exactly what they'll do for us. Say 4 points in the next 2 games, because we don't know what Bournemouth are going to do. We don't know what Everton and Leeds results will be, or what Forest results will be, etc. So, I think any win obviously is going to be important now between now and the end of the season. But the point I was making only was that we're not in a position to cherry pick which games we think a point is okay in. I think we've got to be going out now a little bit more proactive about winning every game that we play. We can't cherry pick anymore, and that includes on Sunday. We have to go there with a mindset of beating Tottenham.
Yeah, what it is, the Forest game for me becomes huge. Whatever happens on Sunday, right? If we just say we draw the game on Sunday, and we put in a good performance, and I do expect West Ham to get something out of the game against Spurs on Sunday. I really do. I don't expect any half-assed performances from none of our players. They know what it means to the fans. I've seen the stuff on social media where Spurs fans are saying about us, and I've literally tagged West Ham in absolute everything to say, this is what they think, right? Because it means a lot to us fans. Yeah, you go and win at Spurs, you can write off the last few months. Go win there and then build from there. Then we're good. The problem is the Forest game for me is the one. That is the one where if we need to pull teams in with us rather than let them go away from us, and that is the problem. I see someone say about Leeds. I think it was Vinny said about Leeds. I agree with him on that. What he just said about Leeds. He said Leeds and Everton. Everton will get out of it under Dyche. I think so. I think he's a strong man manager. He knows a few of them players from his Burnley days. He's worked with them. I think they will do enough to get out of it. They've got the home crowd there. Yeah, I think they'll be fine. I think Leeds could be a problem for them.
Yeah.
I think they've got no direction. They've got good players, but they just don't know where they're going to go. Do you know what I'm saying? So when I look at us, and I look at Spurs, Forest, and I think after that we've got Brighton. They are 3 big games, 3 literally massive games. Especially I'm going to look at the Brighton game for a second, because the Brighton game, we just don't beat that team ever. We haven't beat them in the Premier League in the last 5-6 years. So how are we supposed to beat them now? Do you know what I'm saying? If we've never beaten them before, so that's going to be a game that I think the next 3 really. Right, you could say next 2, but I'll say next 3 will show where we're at. And the fear I do have, I do have this before I let it come in. I fear that West Ham are going to literally get to that Brighton game, and then if it goes the way that it could go, and basically we're in that fucking shit at the bottom, we could have to sacrifice the conference, because we can't play our best team on a Thursday and our best team on a Sunday for the rest of the season. We just can't do it. We just we're running out of bodies now. So what chance have we got in 2 competitions especially if a team's away somewhere out in like Europe somewhere.
Yeah.
But how are we supposed to do it? Like, what do you reckon on
Yeah, and
that?
don't forget, James, we're also going to have a midweek game on the 1st of March away to United in the Cup. So, we've got that to contend with as well.
Yeah.
Depending on where we are in the table, how our Premier League results have been, Moyes might have to sacrifice that game.
Yeah,
But I think, look, we can't lose at Tottenham.
yeah,
We can't. I'll be honest. I think even if we have to suffer another draw at Tottenham and we beat Forest, I think that is still us just treading water. I think all that's doing for us is just keeping our heads above water, keeping us out of the relegation zone. We're not going to fly up the table with 4 points in the next 2 games. We're not.
no.
And depending, we might not be very much better off at all, depending on other results. Now, I think Everton play Leeds, so it'll be interesting to see. I think you would think Everton were at home should beat Leeds.
Everton
But you
will
never
beat
know
Leeds.
with Leeds. You never know
Yeah.
with bloody Leeds, do you? Leeds can be kind of struggling, and then they come out and they score 4. They're a kind of funny team that way. So we'll wait and see what happens there. But I think even 4 points from the next 2 games, we're not out of the woods by any means. The points will be useful. The points will be useful, but only to keep us treading water.
I agree. I really do. I look at it like this. I look at Wolves versus Bournemouth, I think it is. Wolves are at home. If Wolves win that game, they go 6-7 points clear, I think it is. Something ridiculous. And that's before we've even played. Excuse me. So, for me, I'm looking at it and think Wolves are out of the question. I don't think Wolves are anywhere near in danger. I think they've got a top quality manager. I think they've signed very well, and they will be gone. Like, they will nick a few wins, bang up the league, and they're away. I think Leicester are the same. I think there's one team that no one's mentioned, not one person's mentioned in any sort of panels, any YouTube channels, anything, that is sort of dropping like a stone out of water, and that's Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace on 25 points, I think it is, and they just can't get anything at the minute. They can't get going. They can't win a game. They can't hold a lead. They can't do anything. Do you know what I mean? They're just dropping. They are 5 points. I think they're 5, 6, or maybe 6, 7 points off of the relegation zone. Don't get me wrong. But if they start dropping down, them games like Crystal Palace that we've got to play, Leicester we've got to play, Bournemouth away we've got to play. They're big games, and they are 6 pointers. Basically, do you know what I mean? Draws are no good in them. So we will see what will happen there. Anything else, Tommy, that you'd like to discuss?
What was it? There was something I heard Moyes going on about. Yeah, do you know this fucking thing? I couldn't believe it. Moyes was in the press conference. He's talking about how we can't. It's ridiculous for us to expect to be up, in Europe every year or challenging for a European spot every year. That we're going to have down seasons and stuff like that, and like poor mouthing it, as if he's had, as if we're Bournemouth, as if he's had nothing to spend. Do you know what I mean? Is it as if the last 2 seasons were like this anomaly, and that now we're kind of back to more where we should be or something?
Did you see the article? Did you see the article on Twitter? Something you've just reminded me. Did you see the article on Twitter about Moyes downplaying West Ham should be competing at the top end of the table? I didn't even. I read the first sort of few sentences and I went, "That's enough for me. I ain't got to read no more." An ambitious manager is like, "I want to be competing at the top end," and to come out and say West Ham shouldn't be expected to be there. So when I ask people this, and I do speak to a lot of people, and I say, where do you expect West Ham to be? And everyone keeps saying about mid-table. I look at them and I think, really? I look at the base of West Ham, the fans, the club as a whole. When people think of England and World Cup, they don't look at recent times. They go back to when England did win the World Cup and the players who played for them, and 3 of them players played for us. So,
I mean, if you're,
I don't know.
if I'm the chairman of West Ham,
Mm.
that's very fucking alarming. I'm like, what the fuck is he talking about? Like, you're talking about a team in the last 2 seasons that's finished 6th and 7th, and have then, so that's already like a good team, and have then spent, if you include Danny Ings this January, you spent the bones of what, 180, 190 million on players. To have your manager come out and say that we've chucked 190 million into an already top 10 team,
Yeah,
and you're talking about, why wouldn't you expect a relegation battle? I'm like, what the fuck is that about? That's alarming talk. It's like he's trying to pull the fucking wool over our eyes or something. It's like, no, we shouldn't be expecting this. We should be nowhere near a relegation battle. Nowhere near it.
I agree.
We should be right now. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. We should be a top 10 team right now. Right now.
Hang on.
With the team that we already had that finished
agree.
6th and 7th and has had 190 odd million chucked at it. How in the fuck can you be justifying a relegation battle trying to tell us that's kind of what we should be expecting? Like, fuck you. He should be sacked. If that's what's in his head, I'm like, fucking hell, you can't be our manager. I'd be fuming if I'm the owner of West Ham.
But you know what it is, though? I absolutely agree. Right? When I look at it, and I do have this argument on social media quite a lot with people. When you disagree with them, they go, "Oh, you should go and support like fucking Arsenal or Tottenham, like, and all this bollocks," right? Which I find so offensive. I really do. That makes me, that's like a red rag to a bull with me when they say that shit. But I look at us and I think, well, we haven't won a trophy in 43 years, right? We should be competing at the top end. We've signed some good players. When West Ham left Upton Park in 2016, we had one world-class player in our team in Dimitri Payet. We had a lot of good players in our team, right? But no one of world-class ability. If we look to the present day, 2023, we've got one world-class player in our team. That's Declan Rice. Got a lot of good players. Jared Bowen's a good player. He's not a world-class player, but he's a good player. Fornals is a good player. Souček's a decent player, decent enough. Do you know what I mean? Aguerd is potential world-class, but he's only just arrived, so we're going to know more about him next season. So when I look at it, and I look at us, I think from leaving Upton Park 8 years ago or 7 years ago to the present day, we've gone from one world-class player in 2016 to one world-class player to 2023, and we haven't really changed. We haven't really changed at all, in my opinion.
And we're in a relegation battle.
Yeah, I agree. It's like, for me, I just feel that sometimes I look at us and I think we, as fans, our mentality has to change as a whole, as a fan base, right? I look at us and I think we should be demanding top 10 each year, right? Because that's not a lot to ask. When I look at teams like Brighton, Brentford, no disrespect to them sides, but we're a bigger club than them two put together. Like Brentford, I remember Brentford 5-6 years ago in League One, League Two. Right, I actually remember my local team playing Brentford in League Two in a game. So I can't take Brentford seriously. I respect Brentford's model. Brentford's model is excellent on what they do. Their data analysis. Same with Brighton, 2 teams. But we should be up there. I look at Fulham. Fulham have come up and they've just gone into a different level of a team. And I look at us, and it just seems like we've gone from being so great with 13, 14 players to now having all these players, all these injuries, and we just don't know what to do. We don't know how to sort of string a win together. And
to be honest, James, it's not like we're even really demanding that the board live up to the promises. You know, they were on about, you know, challenging at the top of the table, Champions League and all that. We're not even asking for that. Like, although maybe there's a minority of fans that demand that still, which is fair enough as far as I'm concerned, because that's what was fucking promised. That was, you know, why we kind of agreed really to leave Upton Park, because we were promised all these, you know, what was Karen Brady said, world-class players in a world-class stadium. But look, for me to be happy as a West Ham fan,
Mm.
If we were pretty much every season finishing top 10, if they said to us, right, every season we'll finish in the top 10, maybe some seasons we'll have a particularly good season, we might qualify for Europe, but we're going to finish top 10 and we're going to have a right go at the domestic cups, see if we can win a cup. And in the seasons where we happen to qualify, say for Conference League or Europa League, we'll have a right go at those too. I'd be like, yeah, we'll take that.
I would accept that. No,
I'll take that 100%. All day.
Right, I'm not asking West Ham to try and finish fourth. I'm not, because I look at the powerhouses ahead of us, and they are far superior than us in regards of money spent, wages they can pay, etc. But when it comes to us, I look at the recent FA Cup results over the last, say, 5 years. Let's say 10 years. We got beaten at Wimbledon. We got beaten in the League Cup against Oxford. Like, we've lost games. Like, we nearly went out the cup last year to Kidderminster Harriers. Like, West Ham need to be competing in these cup competitions. So I look at Newcastle, for instance. And Newcastle, people say about Newcastle, oh, they've got rich owners now. Yeah, they've spent money, but they've spent no more money than what we've spent this season, really. And they've got rid of players. They've brought in new players, and they've managed to get to a League Cup final. Now, if they go and win that, that's the first time they've won a trophy in something like 48 years, I think someone said to me. So, like, I'm hoping that West Ham can follow suit and go, right, this is what we need to do. Right, we need to start building because we've got the foundations. I'm not being funny. I have this argument all the time. I look at the fan base of us, and we've got the best fans on the fucking planet. I have this argument every time. People say, oh, Arsenal fans, Chelsea fans, Man United fans, always crap. On the 1st of March, West Ham will be travelling to Manchester, 8,000 odd. Yeah, no trains. They are going up there in force, whether they're from up north or down south. They will be at Old Trafford in that game. Because one thing with West Ham fans, they travel. Yeah, and they listen. Whether it's a fucking cup game in like Yugoslavia, right? Or do you know what I mean? Or the outskirts of fucking San Marino, right? They will travel. West Ham fans, like. There's no problems about that. Do you know what I'm saying? Peter says it's only 6,000 there, but 6,000 is still 6,000 fans travelling all the way up there, knowing the situation.
Yeah, I'll tell you why, because it's the way the away ticket allocations work.
Yeah.
So they come in blocks of 3,000. So West Ham bought the first block of 3,000 tickets. They got sold out. So they bought the second block of 3,000 tickets, but they only had interest, I think, for another. They weren't going to make like the full allocation of the third one, so they didn't want to buy the whole lot and only sell 1,000 of the third block of 3. So they sent back. So they didn't take up the offer of the final 3,000. Right. So that's why we'll be carrying 6,000. We probably could carry a bit more, but they would have had to buy the third 3,000. Block of tickets, but maybe would have only sold 1,000 of those, and they're still stuck with the other paying for the other 2,000 that aren't sold. So that's why it's 6.
Yeah. I agree. Like, I rate it. Listen, as someone who sort of like has been to away games in the past and not as much now, I rate it. I rate these fans for going there. Like on a Wednesday night, middle of the week, they've probably got to be up for work the next day. Right, and that's why when people say about us as a fan base, right, I just think the mentality at West Ham has just got to change a little bit. Right, we've got to be more expecting rather than tolerating. I think we tolerate a lot, and let's be honest, as fans, we do tolerate some shit. I will say that. Like, we've tolerated a lot of stuff from the owners of this club, and sometimes with the players. Like, we've tolerated a lot of crap from certain players over the last sort of 5-6 years, where some players, when you look at them now, they're playing in fucking out in Europe somewhere where no one's even heard of them. Do you know what I'm saying? One thing I do want to say to round this up, for something that Mark Watson just said, right, which I do agree with him, but it's something that I want to say, is that basically, has the injuries of West Ham caught up with us from last season to now? Like, because West Ham played with like 13, 14 players each week last year. Yeah, no player got injured. Everyone was sort of good as gold. This season, a lot of players have been getting injuries. A lot of the new players have been getting injuries, which is a problem. But a lot of the sort of players now are starting to get injured also, who's sort of been with us from last season. Do you think the heavy schedule last season's catching up with West Ham now, Tommy?
Not really. I don't think it has anything to do with last season, to be honest. I think there's a number of factors why we're having such a poor season. Injuries certainly haven't helped. That is a factor. There's no doubt about that. We have been unlucky with injuries this season. But I think that's just one of many factors. I think, I don't think last season really has too much bearing on it. I know the players, a lot of them were flogged to death last season.
But do you look at it though, Tommy? Do you look at it that we played in so many competitions last year?
Yeah.
Then we left for a little while. Then we had a heavy sort of pre-season.
Yeah. We were back early, of course. Yeah.
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 And I remember
we had an early pre-season because of the World Cup.
Yeah. And I remember that pre-season because I had so many debates on Twitter, right, on Spaces. And I said that West Ham just don't look right. They just don't look on it. And then the season starts. Obviously, our first game of the season is Manchester City at home, right? So that's not really a good starter. And then we had Forest away in a game where we had so many chances, but we just couldn't put the ball in the back of the net. It was like there was just like an invisible wall in front of their goal, and we was never going to score in a month of Sundays, really. So, what do you reckon? I reckon it has caught up with us a little bit.
Yeah, because I hadn't thought of it, so I'm just kind of mulling it over in my head now that you've asked it. I think that's entirely possible. It's a reason why we started the season so flat. Like I said, the players have been put through a lot. You know, I think they were physically and mentally exhausted by the end of the season. And then, as you say, they're back like really early for pre-season. They didn't get much of a break in the summer, and then they're back again, and they're back in pre-season, playing pre-season friendlies, and then before they know it, they're back into the Premier League again. And perhaps they hadn't had enough time to refresh their bodies and refresh their minds so that they were like really ready to go again. That entirely possibly could be one of the factors as well. Yeah, absolutely. Now that I kind of mull it over in my head, it could be absolutely.
I do believe so, mate. I really do. I've been sort of looking at it. Me and Mitch was talking about it a while ago, and I just think some of the injuries that we're picking up. Obviously, I agree with what Adam says in the chat about there's been contract disputes with Kafal and Souček. Johnson hasn't renewed his contract. There's a lot of different issues in the background. Right, when you look at West Ham on the pitch, we look a bit up and down, in my opinion. I've not really seen us have a real stellar performance in the Premier League this season.
No, we haven't had a single kind of performance where you're buzzing after it. You know what I mean? Where you're like, fucking hell, that was a performance. We were really great today. We haven't had any of that this season, unfortunately, not once.
Which is a concern, I must admit. But we're going to round it up there. Tommy, thank you very much for coming on, mate. I really do appreciate it. No worries at all, mate. Please do smash a like on the video, and please do subscribe to the channel if you are new around here. Get the likes up on the video, gets me out there with all the lads, and it goes a long way. I don't know, a members stream the other day, right? And it was really, really good. I'm going to do a few more of them. Some of it's going to be West Ham related, some of it's going to be non-West Ham related. So any questions you want to ask about anything in general, life, everything, get them on that stream. Trust me, it was really, really good stream. Absolute love it. So become a member, goes a long way. Also, finally, tonight, 8:38 tonight, my dog is running in a final of a maiden open, greyhound. Black Ball Rancho is its name, and if it goes and wants to win tonight, I'll be very, very proud. So do check that out tonight. It surprised me and all the lads who are involved in that dog. We think we've got something very, very special, and I can't stress enough how much I'm excited for the future of this dog, especially with me involved in greyhounds. So yeah, go and check that out tonight. Romford, 8:38 UK time. And listen, to wrap it up from me, on Sunday, if you're not busy watching West Ham, or you've got another device, get over to E20 Zone TV because Lucas and Mitchell are doing a watch along. I'm letting them loose for once, and I don't know whether it's a good idea. I know
you're letting the inmates run the asylum.
I'm letting they're letting the nutters run the asylum, mate. They're going to be doing a watch along at 4:15 UK time, so do go over and check it out. If we win, it's going to be brilliant. Right? But if we lose, I think Mitchell will lose his shit. So yeah, it's all good. I will be back on Sunday. Towards the back end of the evening for an afterthought, and I'll get all the lads on for the player ratings as I normally do. And also, there's going to be a guest on Sunday that I haven't seen for ages. Yeah, and he's coming on the channel for the player ratings on Sunday night, and that is Charlie Boy. I haven't seen Charlie Boy for a long time. He's been away for a long, long time. And anyone who knows Peach and Charlie Boy are very close friends. Obviously, Peach is no longer with us. RIP Peach. But Charlie Boy is back, and I'm going to be getting Charlie Boy on more on this channel. I love the geezer to death. Yeah, he's from Canning Town. He moved to Brooklyn, New York. He's a Brooklyn lad, but he's got a West Ham heart. I fucking love the geezer. I cannot wait to see him on Sunday. I really can't, because he's one player. He's one man. Sorry, who's real. He's real to the core. He's one of us, 100%. So, yeah, I'm going to leave it at that with you. Enjoy your Friday, whatever you're doing. And I will see you again on Sunday. West Ham United, please, right, for the love of God, don't let me down on Sunday. It's a game I hate to lose. I really do. So please make my afterthought a good one. Anyway, take care. Peace.
There it is. I've never found a love like this.